the love triangle. It's one of the most popular devices used in romantic plots ever. Twilight, Titanic, The Notebook, This Means War, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter, Mean Girls, Moulin Rouge, Awkward, The Vampire Diaries, The Hunger Games, The Office, The Infernal Devices, even Beauty and the Beast all have some kind of love triangle in them. And those are just the recent ones. But who would have thought that they existed in literature and plays 2,000 years ago, with one of the first ones being the creepily incestual Greek tragedy Oedipus Rex. But they remained a big theme in plays and have been included in many different works by one of the greatest authors of all time, William Shakespeare. In this video, we will be examining exactly how Shakespeare portrayed love triangles in his works, and consequently, how they have been portrayed in modern media. In 1606, Shakespeare began writing his sonnets. There are 154 sonnets total, all of them written in first person, most likely from Shakespeare's own perspective. Most of the poems concern the fair youth, a beautiful, comely, attractive, and fair young man? Yeah, the person more lovely and more temperate than a summer's day was, in fact, male. But Shakespeare was only writing about him as a friend. But the infatuation that he shows toward the fair youth throughout most of the poems is all of a sudden disrupted by the mysterious dark lady. Shakespeare becomes really spiteful towards this woman, attacking her because she was a brunette, which is a pretty stupid reason to be mean to someone, and an even stupider reason to write a ton of hateful sonnets about them. And even though Shakespeare was a complete jerk to women, there must have been some other, more important reason why he wrote so angrily about her. He was in love. And even though he wrote line after line about how her brown eyes and hair were to, in his words, bastardly to be labeled beautiful, he goes on to say in the last line of Sonnet 127 that every tongue says beauty should look so. But then all of that is messed up when he says that the fair youth and the dark lady are in a relationship together. Shakespeare then starts to write about how lonely he is and sad that his love was taken by his friend, the fair youth. Two loves have I, of comfort and despair, which like two spirits do suggest me still. The better angel is a man right fair, the worser spirit a woman colored ill. Now, there have been speculations about whether these two figures that he wrote about actually existed. Shakespeare identified the fair youth as a man named Mr. W.H., who many think could be the Earl of Pembroke, William Herbert. But who was the dark lady? Not many people think that it was Shakespeare's wife, Anne Hathaway, because their marriage by then was basically over, so it's possible that we'll never know who, in fact, she was. This love triangle between Shakespeare, the fair youth, and the dark lady could be reflected in some of the plays that he wrote later on. Let's take a look at one of his most famous, A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a story about four young people who are all in love with each other. There's Demetrius, Hermia, Lysander, and Helena. Hermia's father wants her to marry Demetrius, but she doesn't really want to because she and Lysander are in love. But the thing is, Demetrius wants to get married to Hermia because he's in love with her. But then Helena is in love with Demetrius because they were married at one point, and it's just complicated. Then there's this fairy called Puck, and he messes everything up even more when he uses this special potion on them all. So now both Demetrius and Lysander are in love with Helena, and Hermia gets all jealous because the two of them are fighting over Helena and not her. Let's see what all this looks like.
'Tis partly my own fault, which death or absence soon shall remedy.
Helena, I love thee. By my life, I do.
Oh, excellent! Do not scorn
I say
us,
I love thee more than he can do.
Lysander, do you not jest? Yes, sooth, and so do you!
Ow!
Ah! Am not I Hermia? I'm as fair now as I was ere well. Why, then you left me in earnest, shall I say?
I never did desire to see thee more. Be certain, nothing truer, 'tis no jest, that I hate thee, and love Helena.
So Lysander confesses his love for Helena, then Demetrius confesses his love for Helena, who runs away thinking they're all mocking her. Then Lysander tells Hermia that he doesn't love her anymore. It's sort of confusing, but that's really the nature of love triangles. Anyways, in the end, Puck makes everything right by having Hermia and Lysander together, Helena and Demetrius together, and they end up having a triple wedding with Hermia's father Theseus and his wife Hippolyta. The last work that we'll be examining by Shakespeare is one that is a little less well known. It's called Twelfth Night. The play revolves around Viola, a woman who, after a shipwreck, is taken to the shores of Illyria, where she pretends to be a man called Cesario. She becomes a servant to Duke Orsino, who is in love with Lady Olivia, but Lady Olivia doesn't love him back because she's mourning her dead husband. Duke Orsino recruits Cesario to court Lady Olivia for him, but because of her youthful looks, Olivia falls in love with Cesario, but that won't work out because Cesario is actually Viola, who's in love with Duke Orsino. Then there's Sir Andrew, who's trying to court Olivia, and later her steward Malvolio is tricked into thinking that Olivia loves him too, so he tries to get on that. But then Viola's twin brother Sebastian shows up, and Olivia thinks that he's Cesario and proposes to him, and he says yes. But then when it's revealed that Cesario is actually Viola, Duke Orsino realizes that he's actually in love with her, and everybody is happy. That may be even more confusing than Midsummer. Now, to some of you, this plot may sound a little bit familiar, and that's because in 2009, one of the best actresses and role models that Hollywood has to offer, Amanda Bynes, starred in a movie with a very similar plot called She's the Man. This story is really based off of Twelfth Night. It even has the same names as some of the characters, but She's the Man adds plenty of modern twists to the classic story like this, that by no means enhance the story whatsoever. However, it is very interesting to see how modern media has chosen to portray this story. The plotline to She's the Man is basically the same as Twelfth Night, except for a few key things, like, for example, Viola dresses up as her brother Sebastian, not Cesario. There are plenty of other modernized things that translate from the play to the screen. Let's take a look at the scene where Viola realizes that Olivia is in love with Cesario in Twelfth Night.
I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Fortune forbid my outside has not charmed her. She made good view of me. Indeed, so much, he thought her eyes had lost her tongue, for she did speak in starts. Distractedly. She loves me. Sure. I am the man.
Okay, and now the same scene from She's the Man.
I have this huge thing for his roommate, Sebastian, and I was just trying to make Sebastian jealous. Oh boy. Yeah, I know it's really wrong to use a person this way, and I feel really terrible about it, but I really, really like Sebastian. He's so handsome, and he's not the goonish kind of handsome you see in a lot of guys. He's delicate, like even refined handsome, you know? Oh, and when he smiles, I just can't stop looking at him. He's just so wonderful. You know, Olivia, it's Olivia, right? Yeah. I'd give you, just a little advice. Okay. Enough is enough! You are weaving a really tangled web. Yeah, like really, really tangled. And, honey, you gotta stop, okay? So you just gotta tell everybody the truth, be very, very honest, just let the chips fall where they may. You're right, I know. The next time I see Sebastian, I am gonna march right up to him. You march! And I'm gonna tell him how I feel. You tell him! And then I'm gonna kiss him so passionately that even the people he hates will feel pleasure.
That is one example of how Shakespeare and the creators of She's the Man handled it very differently. See, in the first one, it is a lot more meaningful. Viola goes into a long speech about realizing the subtle messages Olivia was sending her. But in She's the Man, Amanda Bynes just sort of stares in the mirror. Love triangles are constantly being used in modern television, books, and movies. These have been only a few examples of how Shakespeare incorporated them into his works, and later how one was portrayed recently in film. There is no doubt that there will be plenty more love triangles in movies and television and everything. I mean, let's face it, they are so intriguing. Neither the patrons of the theaters in 17th century England nor average everyday high school students just like us in the 21st century can get enough of them.